The slap echoed louder than the music. For a second no one moved. My mother's hand was still in the air. My cheek burned, but I didn't touch it. I just looked at her. "You're a disgrace," she said again, louder this time, like she needed the room to agree. No one spoke. Not her friends. Not the guest. Not even my younger cousin who had been laughing with me 5 minutes earlier. I shouldn't have noticed this, but my brother was smiling. Just a little. Like he'd been waiting for this. "Get out," she said, pointing toward the door. I didn't argue. Didn't defend myself. I picked up my jacket and walked out. No one stopped me. That part stayed with me longer than the slap. Outside it was cold. Quiet. Like none of it had just happened. I sat in my car for a while, hands on the wheel, going over every second. Something felt off. Not just the slap. The timing. The way she said it. The way everyone stayed quiet. Like they already knew something I didn't. I kept it to myself. Drove home. Didn't call anyone. Didn't text. Just sat there in the dark, replaying it again and again. That's when I remembered something small. Something I almost ignored. The way my mom had said, "You embarrassed me." Not us. Not the family. Just her. The next morning I woke up early. No hesitation. I picked up my phone and called the bank. "Freeze the accounts that I funded," I said calmly. There was a pause on the line. "Are you sure?" the agent asked. I looked at the wall. "Do it," I said. Because something told me. This wasn't over yet. And I was finally starting to see why. I didn't grow up thinking money would matter this much. But over time, it quietly became the only thing holding everything together. 3 years ago when my dad passed, things changed fast. Not emotionally. Practically. Bills. Mortgage. My brother's failed business. My mom's lifestyle that didn't slow down even a little. I stepped in. No announcement. No discussion. I just started covering things. At first it was small. Utilities. Groceries. Then it grew. Car payments. Credit cards. Property taxes. Eventually I was funding almost everything. But we never talked about it openly. That part always felt strange. My mom would still act like she was in control. Like she was the one providing. In front of others she'd say things like, "We're doing just fine." I never corrected her. I kept it to myself. Something about it felt necessary. Like the truth would break something fragile. My brother, on the other hand, knew. Not everything. But enough. He'd started asking questions a few months ago. Casual at first. "Must be nice having extra cash." Then more direct. "You helping mom out these days?" I gave vague answers. I shouldn't have. Because that's when things shifted. He started showing up more. More involved. More opinionated. Like he suddenly had a stake in something he didn't build. And my mom. She started treating me differently. Subtle at first. Shorter replies. Less warmth. Then small comments that didn't quite make sense. "You've changed. I don't recognize you anymore." I ignored it. Until last night. Because the way she said disgrace. That wasn't about embarrassment. That sounded like a conclusion. Like a decision had already been made. And I had no idea when. Or why. I stopped being part of it. 2 days passed before anyone called me. Not my mom. Not my brother. That silence said more than anything they could have explained. I didn't chase it. I just watched. That's something I learned early. When people stop talking, they usually start moving. Quietly. So I checked what I could. Accounts first. Nothing unusual at a glance. Bills still pending. No sudden withdrawals. But something felt off. Like things had been touched. Just not enough to trigger anything obvious. Then I checked access logs. That's when I saw it. Multiple login attempts from a device I didn't recognize. Late at night. Same IP range. Same pattern. I shouldn't have noticed that. But I did. And it didn't match my habits. Or the bank's usual system behavior. I didn't react. Just noted it. Then I drove by my mom's house that evening. Didn't go in. Just parked across the street. Lights were on. Voices inside. More than usual. Through the window I saw my brother sitting at the table. My mom across from him. And someone else. A man I didn't recognize. Laptop open. They weren't eating. They were discussing something. Papers spread out between them. I stayed in the car. Watched for a few minutes. Then I saw my mom sign something. Slowly. Carefully. Like it mattered. That's when everything clicked a little closer into place. This wasn't about a fight. Or embarrassment. This was preparation. And whatever they were planning. It had already started before that night. I kept my distance. Didn't confront them. Didn't call. Because I needed to be sure. But one thing was clear now. They weren't just cutting me out. They were trying to move something. Before I realized what was happening. And I was already late to it. I didn't go back to the house. Instead, I made one call. A friend of mine works in compliance. Quiet job. Notices things others ignore. I asked him a simple question. Can someone try to move assets from accounts they don't legally control? He didn't answer right away. Then he said, only if someone gives them access, or if they think they already have a claim. That word stayed with me. Claim. That night, I went through every document I had. Every transfer. Every payment. Every agreement I never made official. And that's when I saw it. The pattern. 4 years, I had been sending money into accounts under my mom's name. Not joint. Not protected. Just hers. At the time, it felt easier. Cleaner. Family. But legally? It wasn't mine anymore. Not once it landed there. I leaned back in my chair. That's when everything made sense. The distance. The comments. The shift in tone. The slap. It wasn't about disrespect. It was timing. They needed me gone. Emotionally. Publicly. So that what came next would look justified. I thought about the man at the table. The papers. The signature. Then I checked property records. It didn't take long. My mom's house, the one I'd been paying for, was in the process of being refinanced. New structure. New ownership terms. And my brother's name had just been added. Not as a guest. As a co-owner. I stared at the screen. No discussion. No warning. Just a quiet transfer of control. Using everything I had funded. That's when the full truth settled in. This wasn't neglect. This wasn't misunderstanding. They had planned this, step by step. And I had paid for all of it, without realizing I was being replaced. I didn't react. Not yet. That was the difference between them and me. They moved fast. I moved carefully. I closed my laptop and just sat there for a while. No anger. No panic. Just clarity. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Every payment I made. Every time I covered something without asking questions. Every "don't worry, I'll handle it." It had built something. Just not for me. I picked up my phone and started making calls. Quiet ones. The kind that don't leave a trail. First, the bank again. Not to argue. To understand. What happens when accounts are frozen during an active refinance? The answer was simple. Everything slows down. Nothing closes. Nothing moves forward. I thanked them and hung up. Then I called someone else. An attorney I hadn't spoken to in years. I didn't explain everything. Just enough. Hypothetically, I said, if someone funded assets under another person's name, is there any way to challenge that? He paused. Depends on intent. Documentation. Pattern of control. Good. I had all three. I just never needed them before. Next, I pulled together every record I had. Transfers. Messages. Receipts. Even small things. Like my mom texting, "Can you cover this one too?" At the time it meant nothing. Now it meant everything. I organized it all. Slowly. Precisely. No rush. Because rushing is how mistakes happen. And I couldn't afford that. Not anymore. I wasn't going to confront them. Not yet. Because they still thought I didn't know. And that was my only advantage. So I let them continue. Let them believe the plan was working. Because the moment they felt safe was the moment I'd be ready to move. I gave it 4 days. Enough time for them to feel comfortable. Enough time for the paperwork to move forward. That's when I made the second call. This one wasn't quiet. File a formal dispute on all transfers tied to those accounts, I told the bank. The agent hesitated. That could trigger a review. That's the point. Once that process starts, everything freezes. Not just balances, documents, approvals, even third-party actions like refinancing. It all gets flagged. And flagged things get examined. Closely. Next, I sent my attorney everything. Not summaries. Everything. Years of transfers. Messages. Proof that I funded the mortgage, taxes, repairs. Proof that I controlled when and how money moved. He called me back that evening. His tone had changed. "This isn't informal support," he said. "This looks like financial control under assumed ownership." I didn't respond. He continued, "If we position this right, you're not just contesting the refinance." He paused. "You're challenging the entire ownership structure." That was bigger than I expected. But it made sense. Because the truth wasn't small. They didn't just take advantage. They built something on top of what I provided. And tried to lock me out of it. That night, I drove by the house again. Lights on. Same room. Same table. My brother was laughing this time. Relaxed. Confident. My mom looked relieved. Like something heavy was finally done. They thought it was over. That everything had gone through. I stayed in the car. Didn't go in. Didn't interrupt. Because in a way, they were right. Something had gone through. Just not what they thought. And they were about to find out the difference. The call came 2 days later. Not to me. To my mom. I know because she called me right after. First time since that night. Her voice was different. Tight. Controlled. Not angry. What did you do? She asked. I didn't answer right away. I'm not sure what you mean. The bank froze everything, she said. They're asking questions. There's an investigation. The refinance. She stopped mid-sentence. That told me enough. It didn't go through? I asked calmly. Silence. Then quieter, no. I leaned back in my chair. That's unfortunate. Her tone shifted. You need to fix this. Now. I almost smiled. Not because it was funny. Because it was predictable. I can't fix something I didn't break, I said. You funded those accounts, she snapped. That money is ours. There it was. Not mine. Not yours and mine. Just theirs. I funded them, I said slowly. That doesn't mean I gave up control. That's not how it works, she said quickly. Actually, I replied, that's exactly what they're reviewing right now. She went quiet again. Then my brother's voice came in the background. What's he saying? She didn't answer him. Instead, she lowered her voice. Listen, she said. We can talk about this. Come over. Let's handle it as a family. I stood up and walked to the window. Looked outside. Same street. Same calm. No, I said. Another pause. Then I added, you already handled it as a family. That's when she realized. This wasn't a conversation anymore. It was a situation. And it wasn't going away quietly. The official notice went out a week later. Not just to them. To everyone involved in that refinance. Bank. Lender. Legal office. Even the guy I saw sitting at that table. The document was simple. A formal claim of beneficial ownership. Backed by records. Years of them. Every transfer. Every bill I paid. Every message asking me to handle it. It didn't accuse them of anything dramatic. It didn't need to. It just laid out the truth. And the truth did the rest. The refinance was canceled. Indefinitely. The property was flagged for dispute. No sale. No restructuring. No ownership changes. Not until it was resolved. Properly. My brother tried calling me 3 times. I didn't pick up. My mom sent a message that night. Short. We need to talk. I read it. Then put my phone down. Because there was nothing left to say. They had already made their decisions. So had I. A few days later, I met my attorney in person. We reviewed everything. Next steps were clear. Negotiation. Or court. Either way, they weren't in control anymore. And for the first time in a long time, neither was I trying to hold things together. I drove past the house one last time that week. Lights off. No cars outside. Quiet. It looked smaller somehow. Like everything that happened inside it had finally settled. I didn't stop. Didn't feel the need to. Some things don't need closure. Just distance. And the understanding that silence can sometimes say more than anything else.